Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syarafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, we are continuing with our Positive Islamic Psychology free life coach training program. Alright, so we are describing the growth model of how to do coaching. So we have goal setting, GROWTH, and now we are talking about habits. There's a lot of things to talk about habits, and I have given you some preview of what we are going to go about, because Islamic psychology is radically different from, for example, secular or materialistic or atheistic psychology, because we have within the framework of Islamic metaphysics and the tenets of Islam, the understanding of our existence at 4 levels. Alright, and this is very important for us to know that we have stability at 4 levels of existence, and if we can understand that, then we can actually do a lot of psychological counseling, coaching, mentoring and healing based on Islamic psychology. That's why it's very important for us to understand this basis of the whole psychology, because it is based on the transcendent model. Our book, as mentioned to you, we have the full model described in the 600 plus page book, Positive Islamic Psychology, a transcendent model to achieve peace, happiness and success in the 21st century. So the whole model, the description of the whole model, how it operates in terms of the theoretical framework and practical protocol in terms of PICBT, Positive Islamic Cognitive Behavior Therapy, has been described quite in detail, but I'm going to elucidate this by simplifying many of these concepts so that you as a life coach, even though you don't read the full book here, you can have the inkling of the beauty, the depth, the truth of Islam. Very important, because as we face this atheistic, materialist worldview, that everything is just physical, everything is just nafs, enjoy yourself, don't bother, you're going to die, and after you die everything is gone. So this is the kind of nihilism from Nietzsche, that do whatever you want, do whatever you like, and don't care. But that is a very negative way of life, which negates your higher spiritual state. So it's very important for us, if we're going to do coaching, we must infuse this idea of spirituality, and I've given you many videos on that, but I'm going to describe again in various ways, so that inshallah I can give you the understanding of the depth, the beauty and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all his creatures, and how we as Muslims must play this positive role in the 21st century to bring about first the ummah, this ummah that's in trial, in tribulation, in difficulties, in fracture, in sectarianism, in suicide bombing and all that, to come to our senses first, and then we reach out to all humanity so that we can bring this beautiful deed. Even they don't become Muslims, at least we can live together in peace, in harmony in the 21st and 22nd century, to bring back the beauty of the depth of Hubbullah and Hubbun Nas to all of us. So what is important is in this book we have this model, that is our SEMP model, or spiritual, emotional, mental and physical model. Our self, our nafs is in the center. This is our physical world, alright? So we live in this physical world, it's in this dunya, but our innate nature is SEM, alright? Our nafs consists of our roh, spiritual, our qalb, our emotional center, our heart, not only the emotional heart, the real heart, our physical heart is linked to our spiritual heart, and our mind or akal. And akal, we have our akal that is linked to our brain, and akal that is linked to God. Alright? All this is described very detailed by our great scholars, Al-Imam Ghazali and many other scholars, as I mentioned to you. So this framework of Islamic psychology is not something out of thin air. This is the basis, the fundamental idea of Islam itself. Alright, so our nafs consists at its pure state in the realm of Alastum bi Rabbikum, when Allah asks us, am I not your Lord? And we say, Bala Shahidna. We all witness you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our Lord. And He infused us this spiritual state, because our S, E and M are just the same thing, one and the same thing, but operating at different attributive aspects of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gift to us. That means Allah has the gift of intelligence. He is the Akal al-Kulli, the absolute intelligence, but He gave us some small qualities of His intelligence to us, so that we can have free will, then we can decide to do good or do bad, and so on. So we are a creature of spirit, living in a spiritual world, but we are not a creature that is only physical. So when the atheists, the materialists, they are only working on this physical aspect only, they negate your spiritual, emotional and mental self. So very important for Muslims, if you want to do coaching, mentoring, go back to this very basic fundamental. Alright, so if we are talking about healing, psychological healing, physical healing, mental healing, spiritual healing, is all within the scope of the metaphysics of Islam. So we have, for example, healing at the 4 levels. We start at the physical level because we feel the pain. If we have a kidney stone, we feel the stone getting our kidney, so we have the pain. Alright, it affects our mind, our akal, it affects our heart, it affects our spirit. So at this 4 level, PMES, healings from all psychological problems must include the SEM. So it must work backward. Alright, and I have given you very detailed understanding of the FET, feelings, emotion, thoughts at a higher level, the vertical plane, and then the thoughts, emotions and feelings at the horizontal plane, and how an integrated human self can then be generated. There's about more than 20 videos on this whole concept, which you can go back to our video on Islamic Psychology PIP, YouTube, you open is there. Alright, so once we talk about emotional stability, the human being in the 21st century is the most unstable human being ever in the history of humanity. Why? We negate the component of our true self and just partake in the component of our nafs. They see the lower nafs, al-nafsul ammara bisuk, or al-nafsul shahwaniyah or haywaniyah, even lower than al-nafsul ammara bisuk. So when we take this physical aspect of our existence, of passion, of greed, of destruction, we are self-destroying ourselves. Not only we are self-destroying ourselves, we are self-destroying all creatures on earth, because we are His vicegerent, we are the Khalifa on this earth. We decide what is going to happen to the lions in Africa. Why? We are killing them. We are burning all their savanna, and they have no place to go. All right, we are killing the bees. Why? Because we use Roundup, all this pesticide that's killing all the bees, just because we want to plant more grain or more, for example, corn, and then you GMO, you genetically modify the corn, and then you absorb the toxin into your body, you kill yourself finally. So in 50 years time, wallahu alam, at the rate this greed and this physical emphasis of more and more and more and more, and doing anything and everything to yourself, to the environment, to your family, to the humanity, to society, to civilization, we are degrading ourselves to become a being that is destructive. That's what Allah tells us in the Quran Al-Karim, where we are creating destruction in the land and in the sea, and that it's our own hands that causes corruption and destruction. So we have to come back at emotional stability, at the spiritual, emotional, mental, to achieve sa'ada. I have explained to you how we're going to go about with it. And then once you understand this whole self, universal unity and interconnected to God and all other creatures, once you become a truly and fully practicing Muslim, as a coach, that's what you're going to give to your coachee, of understanding this basic idea. Then you will transcend the sadness, the huzn, the difficulties, the trials, the tribulation of this world. Every one of us will have to go through that. We will face death of our loved ones. For example, our parents have gone, my parents have gone. Alright? So we will be going also. My children will see Wallahu alam, maybe I go first, then they will see death. So that's part and parcel of life, but we don't see death as the end of our existence. We see death as a progression to a higher realm of our spiritual, emotional and mental state, the realm of al-arwah, al-barzah, and the realm of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a later stage when we go through all the preparation towards Jannah. Jannah is closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically, when we have this sense of universal unity, we Muslims will be the best of humanity. We will be the most peaceful of humanity. We will be the most loving of humanity. But the problem now is we Muslims base our practice of Islam based on very, very strict literal interpretation of certain verses of the Quran. Yes, it is true, but we must include the maqasid al-sharia so that we know that we do not practice, for example, the commandment of war. Alright? Yes, in certain situations we have to face war, but in the situation where you have nuclear bomb, neutron bomb, robots, drones and so on, you are killing millions and millions of people. One atom bomb can kill 1 million people. Humanity, America, Russia, China have more than nuclear bombs to bomb out the whole world, all humanity and all its animal 17 times over. Imagine they start this missile war, they just boom, 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 everything is gone. So we Muslims must be then in this 21st century, avoid strife, avoid war among ourselves, killing among ourselves, sectarianism, tribalism and all this ism is affecting a lot of the Muslim world, and we must bring about a very neutral or a very natural way of jihad based on maqasid sharia to live together with all humanity and all creatures on this earth in the 21st century, because now we have the means to self-destroy not only us but all creatures on this earth. So at this point, we have to avoid war, we have to avoid hatred, we have to avoid all kind of senseless, I'm the only righteous person on this earth. All of you else going to go to hell. You cannot do that. Alright? It is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to judge us. So as a coach, you bring this idea of universal unity and interconnectedness to God and all His creatures. But remember, when we talk about universal unity, doesn't mean that, oh, you can be anybody and anybody. No, in Islam, we know this is the final truth and the only truth. But we can respect our brothers and sisters who believe in God. Alright? Or even if they are atheists, they have their own view of atheism. They are agnostic. We just respect them as they are. We can live in peace with them, we interact with them, but we have our worldview of the nature of our existence, that we are a spiritual being, a transcendent being, living temporarily in a physical world, that we will return back to this transcendental universe created by God Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to achieve the mercy, grace, love, compassion of Allah. We receive the Allahu Waliyul ladhina amanu yukhrijuhum minaz zulumati ilan nur. Allah is the helper, the friend of those who believe, and He brings us from darkness unto light. And then we receive the hubbullah, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we can feel that, we can enjoy that, then we will transcend the trials, the tribulation, the pain, the suffering, the difficulties of this dunya, knowing that we have a higher purpose, higher meaning and a higher destination beyond this physical plane, in a plane close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His divine grace and mercy, knowing that He has appointed us as His Khalifa on this earth. We have within this life the purpose and meaning to strive to make ourselves good, help others to be good, and make the world good, inshallah.